environment, right? In Angular, we learned about how to deal with routing and configuring routing. Now, we will see an end-to-end application in Angular. That means how Angular is used with server-side integrations. And when we are using server-side integration and database, what we need in Angular, these are the points you need to understand. So we are going to build, we are going to use a mean stack for end-to-end development. So what we are dealing with now is, so we are going to configure a mean stack for end-to-end development, for end-to-end application, for end-to-end application. So we are going to deal with this mean stack for end-to-end application. So what is the key point here? What we are going to deal major here is, so one of the key point here we are going to deal with is technically, right? So in the end-to-end mean stack application, so we are going to learn about how we can communicate with server-side technologies and all. Actually, just a simple architectural overview I will give you, means a very basic architectural overview how we can deal with that, right? Right. So a basic architectural overview, how actually the process works. Technically, what we are going to design in the web application architecture. Yeah, what we are going to design and what we are going to configure into this, right? Let's see, right? Actually, we are going to build an application where we have the client. So the client side, I'm giving a preview of what is there. And generally we have a web server. Usually we have a web server. So web server, or we just keep this as the HTTP server, right? Yeah, the process, how do we handle the communication with that? Right. I think I'm audible, clear to everyone, right? Audible to everyone, is it clear? Yes, right. Okay, so now we have web server and we have middleware to handle with. We have the middleware and we need application server. So application here, so middleware, okay. So the web server and the middleware, and we have application server and the database server, application server and the database server. So the application server, yeah, and the database server. Means what we are going to implement, the overview I am giving you. So here we have the database server, right? Database server. Yes. Now our data is present on the database server. It is maintained in various data sources. So we are going to maintain the data on the database server. So maintain the data on database server, technical. And we are going to use the data is in the database server. We will create the database and maintain the database on database server. You can use wide range of databases. So like here in like Oracle or MySQL or MongoDB. So MongoDB, all this. In this occasion, I'm going to deal with this MongoDB. That means we are going to use database MongoDB. All right. I'm not teaching any MongoDB, but I will just give you basic overview of how do we create databases and work with, because this is not learning about server-side technologies and database. We have to see an integration with them. People who have prior knowledge of databases and all, they can use whatever they know already. Here we are just learning integration in our Angular, how to manage that. And application server, so usually, so we will have 3 different layers in the application server in general. Actually, we have a UI layer, so user interface. So it is a UI layer. And technically, we have a business layer, so UI layer. And we have a business logic. So we have a business logic. So we can say business layer, and we have file system, right? Now, this is the basic environment in the client side, server side. So we usually have the user interface, and we have the business layer. So, and the file system. And this is by using various technologies. Like we use various technologies like JSP, like PHP, like ASP.NET, like Node.js, all this, right? Yeah. So these are, here I'm going to show you with the Node.js integration, how we can manage that. How do we manage this, right? And this application, so will communicate with the database. So by using the business logic and gets the data from the database. I'm not going to in depth about server-side technology and their architecture, just a flow I'm giving here. Now, with the help of middleware, so this server-side technology is going to get the request from the client web server, and it is going to send the data as a response for that request. And middleware is responsible for handling all the interactions, communication. So that I will show you once we start the middleware, how it works. And we are going to use the middleware. We have Express, we have Oracle Fusion. So we have like WebSphere, like all these comes under, so the middlewares. So we are going to use this Express as a middleware. So we are going to deal with that Express as middleware. So that I will show here in the integrations, we will use this. Okay. And usually the web server is the HTTP server. So HTTP server. And we are using the internal servers for handling that. And the client side, so we are going to use, so that means this we will web server will pass a request, it will get the response, and actually client side, so our Angular application is working here. Our Angular application is there here, client side, our Angular application is here. That means our Angular application is accessed by the client. So from there, so client makes a request. So a request is made from that, and this request will be processed. Technically, this request will be processed, and a response back comes here. So a response comes back here, and that response is sent back to the client. And here so that he can interact with the data and the content that is there in the server side actually. So here, so we are using application. That means in the client side, we are using HTML, we are using CSS. So, and basically, then we are using Angular. So we are using Angular for consuming and presenting the data. For consuming and presenting the data, we are defining, right, technically. So this is the basic approach of a complete end-to-end application. So we are going to understand this practically now. We are going to see this practically happening. That means how we can practically manage this, how to interact, and how do we handle this entire communication. So now what Angular uses client side to communicate and get that communication with the middleware and configure the connection with the server side technologies. This is the process we are going to look at, right? So this is a complete end-to-end application environment that we are going to try. So let's build everything end-to-end here and we see how to handle them, right? Let's see. I'm not going in detail discussing about what is a database, so and what is MongoDB and all. Just a overview flow to understand about so how to deal with that basic commands so that we can design a simple application with this, right? I will copy that, right, and I will keep this here. So this is what we are going to deal with exactly, right? Now in this, we are going to handle all the interaction, right? So how to manage, we are going to deal with that, right? First, we will start with the database. That means we will start working with the database and we will see how we can manage with the database. So how we can configure and work with the database. And we are going to use a database called MongoDB. So that means first we will start here with the database. And currently we are using the database MongoDB. So MongoDB database, we are using that MongoDB database, right? So how to deal with MongoDB? What is MongoDB? So I'm not going in detail about the database here. Some simple points generally people have to know about. So is MongoDB is an open source. Actually, Mongo is a cloud service provider actually. Cloud service provider. So Mongo is a cloud service provider and it is very huge. It is a cloud environment actually. And this Mongo provides, so MongoDB is the database. So is the database is a cross-platform database. So it is MongoDB is actually a document-oriented database, which is very much getting popular and which is being used across the web applications everywhere. Even Java, .NET, PHP like applications are also asked with document based because of its features, and it is completely JavaScript based. That means actually it is non-SQL database, and actually non-RDBMS. So database. It is a non-RDBMS, non-SQL database. It is open source. It is cross-platform. Some limitations also are there for this, right? Some limitations are also there for this. So it provides so many advantages and some limitations are there. Due to that, it may not suit for every type of environment. That is not our session, right? I'm not going to deal any one of that here, right? I'm just showing you. So what is how to create some data, maintain the data, and use it for our application. So actually, to work with basic MongoDB, so you need to know some terms, and you need to set up the environment for MongoDB. The basic terminology, how it different from the general database, how it is different from the general database. Actually, so if we are dealing with RDBMS, if we are dealing with RDBMS, and so that is MongoDB. Actually, in RDBMS, we have database, and MongoDB also calls it as database only. And in RDBMS, we have a table. Mongo calls it as a collection. Collection in MongoDB is a table. And RDBMS have row. Here we have a document. So here document means a row. Collection means a table. And it is JavaScript based. So completely JavaScript based. JavaScript based, that means all the queries will be just like JavaScript functions. So that is the reason you cannot say that JavaScript is a client-side scripting language, because it is used in server side, it is used in database, everywhere. Right? And now we have column. So column or field, and here also we call it as a field. And we have joins in RDBMS, which we call as embedded documents. So embedded document. So we call as embedded document actually. And I'm not teaching entire Mongo database here to you. So I will just give you an overview only how to create database table. And if you want, you can go online and explore about a MongoDB. Right? I'm not teaching any MongoDB here. So now don't ask how to create this, how to create that, how to do that. For that, you need to learn MongoDB, right? Here I am using this just for our example sake to see how integration works in our Angular. So with server side, people should have complete individual knowledge on this to deal with it perfectly, completely, right? Yeah. So here, so we will set up environment for MongoDB. So that is the basic terminology. So we have to set up environment for MongoDB. So to set up the environment for MongoDB, you have to download and install. You have to download and install. So Mongo database. So MongoDB database server. You can download and install MongoDB data. Actually, MongoDB complete ID is present. That means a graphical interface. Graphically, you can design from there. That is not required for our level because we are just learning how to create some data required for our application. So you can download from the official website. I will provide a link here. You can go from MongoDB. So, and the community. This is the location, direct location where you can download. You can see right side available here 4.4, and which platform you want. You can select the platform and you can install and download and install. No complexity in this, just you can download and install from here, right? Simple, just like how you download other Node.js and all. So you need this database. So directly I will give you that link here. Yeah, so this is the link from where you can download it. This is the link from where you can download it directly. Right. So, and after downloading and installing, download and install MongoDB. So you have to start the MongoDB server. You have to start. So MongoDB database server. We have to start MongoDB database server. So server is the location where all your data is present. You have to start MongoDB database server. So make sure that it is started, because after installing, sometimes it is not started automatically. You have to do it. So for that, what you can do is, so you can go to services, services, MSC. You can go to your Windows services in Windows window run option. You can type that services, and you can simply right click on MongoDB. So MongoDB server. You can right click on MongoDB server and start. So that means you open your Windows services. So in the Windows services, you will find a MongoDB server, and you have to just start the MongoDB server. Yeah, these are the services. In the services, you can look for MongoDB server. Yeah, so this MongoDB server, and this MongoDB server is a database server. It is currently running in my machine. You make sure that you start it, because usually it is in stop mode due to some other servers running. Databases may be there on your machine. You make sure that MongoDB database server, so database server is started, right? MongoDB database server is started. Make sure that it is started, right? Now, once it is started, that means the server is ready. Now you can start communicating with the server. Usually to communicate with the server, we need a MongoDB client. Any database server is the location where the data is stored, databases are created and all. And we need a client tool to communicate with the server. Any database requires that, right? So that is a general thing. And here we have to open Mongo client, so MongoDB client. So open MongoDB client. So once the server is started, start the database server. After that, open the MongoDB client. We need to open the MongoDB client. So to configure, to create and manipulate database, to configure, create, manipulate database, everything we need to do from the client. And how we can do it from the client, right? How we can configure from the client. Let's see how we can manage this from the client, how to open the client, Mongo client. For that, what you have to do is open command prompt, and change to the following location. And I will give you the location, so where to change. So the location, so to start the Mongo client is open command prompt, in that cd/, so cd program files, that means open program files, in that cd MongoDB, in that cd server, in that cd 4.0. Actually the latest version is 4.4. I have an older version of MongoDB. It doesn't matter, we just using for database. For you it will be 4.4. And here so cd bin, okay, and this is the location, so where you have to type mongo.exe. This will start a Mongo client. This will start the Mongo client. And through this Mongo client, you can create database, you can configure database, and it connects with the server. So mongo.exe, right? This is what you have to type. I will copy that. And just type mongo.exe and enter. Then it starts the Mongo client. You can see, so connecting to Mongo database, and the server URL is this. And this is very important for us to communicate with the database from any server-side technology. Actually, every server-side technology requires a connection string to communicate with the database server. And for that, so this is very important for us. It is going to communicate with that. So this is the server address. So we will use this later while working with the communication with any server side technology. Initially, so we have to go to this location, and this is the location. So this is the location, and we have to use the command mongo.exe. Change to the following location and execute command. Execute the command. So execute. So command, that is the command that you have to execute. So this will start the Mongo client. So this will connect to MongoDB server. So and its location is so MongoDB : /127.0.0.1:27017. That is actually the address. It connects to that location, that is the MongoDB server location. This is right. That means now you have connected with MongoDB server. And so once you are connected, now the client is ready. This is the terminal. So this is the location from where we create the database. So we configured the database. We can design everything from here. Just like it is like your SQL queries, how you pass. Here you have to use simple basic JavaScript like commands and queries. So just simple commands we need for that. That means to work with the database, now you need these commands. That means so MongoDB commands. And these commands are case sensitive, right? Case sensitive. So capitalization very much matters for these commands. That's the reason you should be very careful in that. And I will simply give a list of few commands: how to create database, how to create table, how to add records, how to read records. That's it. So later, if you learn this database, lot of things are there. You know, database is very huge to handle, and lot of things are there. Here we will learn just the commands for creating database, creating table, adding records into the table, reading the records from table. That's it. So rest of things you will learn in general database concepts, right? Usually if you are learning a database. And MongoDB is huge. So a lot of things are there to deal here. Let's see what are the basic commands. So what are the basic commands we are going to deal here, and we will see how to work with them. Let's take a simple option. So command and a description. So simple commands I will give. So in the commands, the first command that you regularly need, show DBS. Show DBS. Show DBS, it is to view technically this command. Yeah, this command to view the list of all databases. The list of all databases. To view the list of all databases, you have to use this, right? I already told you, you have so many alternative ways. For that, you have to learn MongoDB. Okay, right? That means there are so many things. That's what I said, right? You can download the entire environment for MongoDB. There is a graphical environment from where also you can start, just like Oracle. Open an icon, provide the credential and login, right? Yeah. So here the first option is to view the list of all databases. You can just use the command show DBS. Show DBS to view the list of all database, and DB, technically DB, to view the active database. That means the current database in use. And we have a use command, actually the use command to switch to existing database. So it can switch to existing database or to create a new database. You can create a new database or switch to existing database by using this. That means we have to just use the option like use and database name. Database name. You have to define the database name. So if already there is a database by that name, it will change into the database so that you can work with the database. Always you have to start using the database to work with the database. And if there is no database by that name, it will create the database. So use is for creating the database. Let's see the commands here. So I will simply say show DBS. It shows the list of databases. And so many databases are there. So many databases are here for me. And it is showing some list of databases. You will get some default databases in the list. You will get some default databases in the list. And this is list of all databases. And you say DB, it will get the current active database. Currently, the active database is test. Test is the database which is currently active. And if you want to create a database, so you want to create and configure a database, then you can simply use the command use and database name. Suppose Angular 10 DB, that is the database name. So any name for database we can configure, right? So, and make sure that show DBS, it has already some databases. And make sure that we are not using any existing database. That means, suppose I am creating some database like use ERPDB, something like this. So some database name. So you can configure any database name. Some I defined as ERPDB. That is one database name. Okay, so to reduce the confusion for you, I will just give Angular 10 DB. Okay, that is the database. So we created a new database and the database is this. So we configured a new database. That means just I will give here, I configured use. So Angular 10 DB. So that is a new database created. Okay. So after creating the database, actually database is not shown in the list until or unless it has some tables. So you see show DBS, you can see that Angular 10 DB is not present here, So because it will be there in the list, shown in the list only when you have some tables inside it. So we just have a database created, but you say you DB, it will show the current database. You show DB, that it will show the current database. That means it is the current database. Angular 10 DB is the current database. That means this is the database currently active. Okay. Now database is ready. We will create a table. So you can go through online tutorials or you can learn a MongoDB separately for all the manipulations with the database, right? I am not dealing with that. I am not going into it, right? Yeah. So this is the basic how we can configure and create the database. So technically, so database is ready. Now let's create some tables into that. That means how do we create table? So we can use DB dot, I'm just giving like index based, right? DB create collection, create new database table. Technically, to create a new database table, so we can use create collection. The basic syntax for this, so that means there are so many options here. We are not going into that. So just actually to create a new database, generally just the syntaxes I will give here. And to create a table, what is the basic syntax for creating the table? Is db dot create collection, and you can define a collection name. So collection name means here reasonably for your understanding is a table name, and we have several options for creating the table. We can give those options. Those options are optional. So, but generally when you learn database, you will learn what options can be there. Initially, just we can give db dot create collection, and the table name. And just I am defining some table names, some TBL products. So that is the table name, how we can want to create a table. So that means, so the database is created. On the database, we are creating a new table. We are configuring and creating a table. So defining and configuring a new table, right? So create collection is to create a new table. A lot of options are there. So we will not go into that. So how to create db dot create collection and table name, some TBL categories, that is the table. And you can see the table is okay, created. I'm creating another create collection, and another one is TBL products. Okay, so that is also done. Two tables are there. Now, after adding some tables into this database, you say show DBS, it will show Angular 10 DB is there now. So we have some tables configured into it. So we have some options configured and defined into it, right? Now tables are there configured. So, but tables are empty. There is no data inside the table. We just created. So we just configured and created some tables. If you want to see the tables, then to view the tables, you can just use the command. We created two tables. One is TBL products. Another one is create collection. That is TBL categories. That is two tables we created. And to view the tables, so you can use show collections. Show collections is the command which is used to view the list of tables. Tables. What are the tables available? To view the list of tables, you can use show collections. So just you can run that command here, show collections, and it will show the list of tables that you have. Okay, table is also ready. Now in the tables, we need to add some records. Let's do that. To add records, db dot collection name dot insert. We have to use insert command. So it is to insert a new record. To insert records into database table. Actually, records here known as documents. So here we call them as documents, to insert documents into a database table. So for that, we need the command insert. So here there are two techniques actually. So you can use two techniques actually. That means syntactically you can define in this way. So what you can do is db dot create collection, and sorry, not create collection, that is collection name. Collection name is table name dot insert. You can add the record. That means you need field name and value. Then you define just like an object here. you define like an object because it is JavaScript based, JavaScript object type. JavaScript object type. This is to add one record. That means one record. You can add multiple records, db.collection name, and you can use insert, and you can use array of objects. You can use array of objects. So this is multiple. You can add multiple records at a time. And very important is the data type. The data types for so MongoDB are similar to JavaScript data types, number type, string type, boolean type, null type. All these are basic same data types here. Just like how you create an object, you have to define it. We have to configure and define it, right? That means how we insert records into the table. To insert records into the table, so here we have to write option like this, db.tbl categories.insert. And here I'm using a object type like reference. So category ID is 1 and comma category name is some category name we are defining. So category name some electronics like this. And here when you are configuring, so this is data type electronics, that is a string type. Category ID and category name, and one record is inserted. If you want to insert multiple records, and very important is by default primary key is generated for MongoDB tables. You can configure explicitly keys and all. That is all database thing. Now, if you want multiple records, db.tbl categories.insert, and you can add an array type collection here. And in that, we can put an object that contains category ID as 2 and category name as some footwear. That is the second category. And comma, another object that is category ID as 3, and some category name is some fashion, right? Fashion like this. Now this is multiple records. You can see it inserted 2 records. That means now we have added some records into that. So you can add one record, you can add multiple records. Just the syntax I will just give you here. So this is the syntax for one record. So this is the syntax for example, right? I will give an example here. This is an example for dealing with one record. And this is an example for dealing with multiple records. So that means how we can add records into that. So that is multiple records. Similarly, you can add records into the products table. So configure the records into the products table. So that means so mongo.exe, it's executed. Okay. So here use Angular 10 DB, because currently when I say DB, you can see it is in the test. Whatever you create, it will be created into the database. So use Angular 10 DB. Okay. Then DB, it is now in it. Then show collections. Now we have these collections, and we want to add some records into table db.tbl products.insert, and let's create here an array. Just for the clarity sake, here what I will do is, that means to make it fast. So I will just create an array here, and in the array we are configuring the details. So here we defined name as some Samsung TV, and some price, and some in stock is a Boolean value, and here I say category. So category, or I will put here photo. So I will just put here assets slash. We can dynamically pick the tv.jpg, and we have category ID that is 1. So we are configuring in this way. and we are adding multiple because it is difficult to deal this type of copy pasting and all in the command line environment. Right here, some JBL speaker, and we defined some price in stock and photo some speaker.jpg. And one more record I'm configuring here, that is here some Nike casuals. So some price defined here and in stock, and here shoe.jpg. And later if we want, we can add, this is 2. And one more for a fashion, or we will add here, suppose some shirt and some price here, and stock here we have shirt.jpg, and category ID is 3. Okay, like this we have some records there. Now usually, so this is the array collection, and I will copy that. I will paste this collection here. Okay, so that is the insert command. And hit enter, that means we are going to insert all these records into the table. So all these records into the table, that has some syntax, some command. So where this command, okay, here I just have to remove this. So array, we need to configure all these in the array actually. And the command is this one. So this is, yeah. So that is the command. Okay. That is the array. Okay. Then enter. Yeah. So I'm adding that. That means all the records I just copied and kept at one place, that so that it is easy for us to insert actually. And it's there. That means 4 records inserted here. Fine. So now you have tables. Now, once you configured the tables, that means for that, I used this approach just temporarily. I will give this also so that you can simply copy and paste that also for another table. Huh? All right. So that is the data. Okay. Now here, so we have to view the records. So to view the records, just simple here I am configuring. To view the records, actually db dot collection name dot find, and if we want, we can write a query here. Find requires a query here. Find uses a query. Queries are complex. So many queries will be there. Just I will give a one level option here because a lot of queries will be there. So technically, so find is to view, to view the records, to view the records in database table. To view the records in database table. So, and you can add in this way. That means syntactically db.tbl products.find. And to keep it in an organized way, db.tbl products.find will keep in a order. We can pass some queries also into that. For example, I want to see the records, db.tbl products.find. Find will return, but it is not in an organized way. Then we will use db.tbl products.find and pretty, and it should get me the records and show. So this is the basic records. These are all the records present inside the table. It's just like so complete JavaScript that you are dealing here actually. So we can add several queries like, so for example, suppose we say db.tbl products.find. Find can expect queries here. We can configure the queries here. So queries are configured in different ways actually. That means there are a lot of things to write about the queries. I'm not going into them. So a lot of options are there for writing the queries. That means suppose name. So name, and we are looking for Samsung TV. Name Samsung TV, and pretty, and I'm adding that here. That means it should get only that and display. we can use the queries like greater than price greater than this, price less than this. So name is in this or that. There's so many queries are there. Queries, very complex queries will be there. Here, I'm just not going into database basics again, right? So what we Angular basic level application, that is enough. That is what generally people learn in databases. How do we query? So what are the query options available? So we can pass different queries and use them. And for that, we need to learn the syntaxes. How do we deal with them? Usually this is enough. So for our example, just basically this is enough. That means, so we created a database. Now we have a database created. So we created tables. We added records into the tables, added record into the tables. You can go through the official help of MongoDB for updating, deleting, modifying everything, querying. So a lot of options, concepts will be there, so that usually you can learn in database. Now our database tables are ready. That means this is ready. So that means our database is ready. That means this is ready. Technically, this is ready. This is ready. Now we need a server-side technology that can communicate with the database, pull the data from the database. So for that, you need any server-side technology. And we will use Node.js as a server-side technology to communicate with the database. And very important, Node.js is again a server-side technology, and server-side Node.js has so many advantages. Again, some options, problems are there technically. So depending on what backend technology you can use anything. Server side, you can use anything. You need a server-side scripting technology, right? So we will use Node.js here. So, and Node.js is already installed in your computer because already you have installed in your computer Node.js. So you type here node-v, it will get the Node version. So the Node version that is installed in your computer, because already we done the Node.js and we are working with Node environment with NPM package manager actually, right? So Node.js is installed. You have to just start working with this now. So your database is ready. Everything is ready. Your database is ready. Now server-side scripting. That means we need a server-side technology that communicates with the database. That means server-side. So server-side technology. We need a server-side technology that communicates with the database. So, and for that server-side, we are going to use Node.js. Server-side, we are going to use Node.js. Technically, so what is server-side scripting in general? So server-side scripting, server-side scripting is a technique used in web development, where scripts are employed on server in order to generate a response customized to every client request, customize it to every client request. Server-side scripting is that technically. And there are several server-side scripting technologies. The main intention of server-side scripting is this. And as we talk about Node.js, so technically when we talk about Node.js, again, some simple things like, so Node.js is an open source. It is It is again cross-platform, JavaScript based server-side scripting. So Node.js has a lot of advantages. Actually, it is asynchronous, and it uses no buffering required here. So no buffering. It is single threaded. So many advantages are there. That means Node.js uses JavaScript programs server side. JavaScript programs server side actually. So that means here the server side Node.js programs will have extension dot extension dot JS. And generally, so server side, how to write Node.js programs to communicate with the database, to connect with the database. How do we handle with that? This is the process we have to learn in server-side scripting now. So what we are going to learn in this Node.js scenario is how to write a server-side program that communicates with MongoDB, gets the data from MongoDB and returns the data, and how it inserts the data into database. That means server side, we need to write a program to connect with the database. We need to write a program to communicate with the database. How do we connect and communicate with the database? And that requires some server-side scripting to do. Once the server-side scripting has done that, now we need to create an API. That API will communicate with the client and interacts with the client. Client consumes an API. We need to create an API. And that API will use the server-side technology to communicate with the database. First, server-side database. Then we will see how middleware uses an API to communicate with the database, get that and send to the client. Then Angular comes to the picture, which consumes, right? Let's see how this happens in the next session. Tomorrow we will see that. Today you just go through the basic of MongoDB. If you want, you can explore more on its official website about MongoDB. Here, this is not MongoDB class. That's the reason I just given a simple overview. And next session, we are going to learn how to handle communication with server-side technology. That means how to write a server-side script which communicates with the database. So different scripts related techniques to communicate and read and insert the data into database that we will see. Tomorrow, we will continue with this. Okay.